It's wonderful to see so many people who are interested in Bangalore. I thought I was the only one so far. But I have a friend. It's always nice to speak to a friend on stage, and that's Shoba. We've known each other for many years, as one can expect. And today, we're going to be talking about her wonderful book, Namma, Bangalore, and also about her as a Bangalorean. Now, the difference, we are both Bangaloreans, but the difference between us is something that I want to bring out today. I'm a Bangalorean whose family goes back 4 generations on my mother's side and 3 on my father's. So I have a kind of old Bangalore DNA in me. And I wanted to talk about the juxtaposition between us. We consider ourselves old Bangaloreans. And by this, I don't mean chronologically only. So we go back in time, we look at our points of reference, also go back several decades, several years. And what has been fascinating for me, as both as an old Bangalorean and a chronicler of Bangalore for the last 35 years, is to hear the new voices that have come into Bangalore. People have moved in over decade after decade after decade. So many people have moved in. When I first published my magazine, this was in 1989, I hazarded a guess about the population of Bangalore. And best guesstimate was 5 million. That was in that year, in 1989. Now, everyone knows the number. But importantly, one of my columnists in the magazine I ran called the Bangalore Monthly was Praxi Fernandez, former Chief Secretary of Karnataka. He told me that in 1961, when the population of Bangalore hit 1 million, there was an emergency meeting convened. And the whole of the city administration sat down and said, what are we going to do, 1 million people? That seems like such a laugh if you think about what is happening right today. Some of us old Bangaloreans are not smiling, but that doesn't include me because I have a spirit of inquiry. I'd love to see what's going on. And today, I have the opportunity to see Bangalore through the eyes of Shoba. Now, Shoba came into Bangalore in?
2005.
2005. So as far as 2005 is concerned, that's pretty much a new Bangalorean for me. But from her perspective, she's been here some 20 years now. So if you take a look at what goes on, what might happen, and when I read this book, it was another offering about Bangalore for me to read, which simply talked about an absolutely breathless journey into so many aspects of Bangalore that, to me, opened my eyes. It keeps opening my eyes. So without further ado, I'd like to just jump in to talk about it as soon as I can find where my notes went on this damn thing. I'll just be a second, Shoba. I'm sorry.
Would you like me to read a short paragraph?
Actually, yes.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you that. Yeah.
This gives the context of what Ramjee was saying about who is a Bangalorean. And it comes in the introduction. And I say Bangalore is home. I didn't always live here. I grew up in Chennai and lived in other cities before moving here in 2005. But Bangalore is the city where my children grew up. And they call it home. They return for holidays. So to Ramjee's point, and since he's found his notes, what makes a Bangalorean? Is it the place where you make your family as an adult? Is it the place where you spent your childhood? Is it the place where you make your fortune, as many startups have done? Or is it the place where people like Kirtana Kumar, Ramjee is going to write a book? Is it a place where your creativity flowers and flourishes? So, which is Bangalore?
So the first question I have is, you moved here in 2005, and you moved here from Singapore, correct?
Yes.
So when you came over here, the streets weren't yet paved with gold.
Yes.
So what brought you here?
I think it was identity that brought me here. I'm a South Indian, and for somebody who's lived abroad and has a longing to return to India, I think South Indians tend to be more comfortable here. So it was a choice between Chennai and Bangalore. Chennai, much as I love it, is not for everyone because my husband flatly refused because of the weather. Bangalore's greatest asset, I have to say, is the weather. In fact, a funny post on Twitter was, "Hey Bangaloreans, is everything all right? Nobody has bragged about your weather for the last 12 minutes." So it is what brought us here.
He probably is traveling abroad somewhere, I guess.
He's right
Or
here.
he's in Chennai. He's here?
He's
All
right here.
So there he is. Now let's jump into one aspect of your book. Let's be crass and talk about money,
Okay.
right? All right. So, like any old Bangalorean, I immediately like that chapter titled, How Bangalore Thinks About Money. How does Bangalore think about money according to you?
Yeah, okay. And you'll have to jump in too. I think the difference between, and I'm making a vast generalization here, but permit me because South India is or used to be comfortable with the word enough, whereas in North India, and I refer specifically to Delhi and environments, flamboyance was appreciated, encouraged, nurtured, whereas the Chennai I grew up in, the Kerala I am part of by heritage, and Bangalore, which I've lived, the showing off was a little frowned upon. That is changing, and that's the chapter that Ramjee is referring to, where I talk about billionaires on boats when the floods came, and people, my friend who works for Times of India here got a call saying, please don't say that I'm living in this housing community or that housing community, which is all for the wealthy. So how does Bangalore think about money? I would like to think that we still think of money as porum, enough. Saku. Saku is a good way to think about money.
And we won't say that housing thing is epsilon, right?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the deal. It's for us in old Bangalore, with this perspective, there are people I see in the audience who are old Bangaloreans that I know, and even if we don't know each other, we know of each other. All old Bangaloreans are one introduction away from each other. And then I see a whole lot of people who seem to be Bangaloreans just by the look of you can tell. The point is that for a number of us, what we consider to be our frame of reference that remained unchanged in this city for decades. So my grandfather had the same frame of references that I did right through when I went to college and out. Suddenly, after the 90s, everything changed. And there was nothing but sheer development, so on and so forth, and Venice-like housing developments that she's talking about. And it seemed to slip away. And as people came in, nostalgia became an industry in itself. So back in the 90s, there were a whole slew of books about my Bangalore nostalgia, and you couldn't open a newspaper with someone going on and on about how wonderful Bangalore used to be, and that sort of started to pale. Now, Shoba is an experienced journalist, and importantly, she's a travel writer, and travel and food have a large Venn diagram overlap. So when she talks about Bangalore and all her comments and her experiences on Bangalore captured in this book, go to that particular expertise. So before I jump into the next question, I'm back on the business of excuse me, on the business of money. The two perspectives that I'm talking about is that we, old Bangaloreans, tend to look at the present from our perspective in the past, and new Bangaloreans will actually look at the present and they'll look back into the future and see what is it about Bangalore that we seem to have missed at some point in time. And this is what's making for the new, interesting debate. Back to the question on money, and that's actually an observation that nobody else, in my opinion, has made so far. But I did at one point in time write a rather tongue-in-cheek thing in an article that I wrote, saying, and my caveat, I qualify this by saying I spent 8 wonderful years in Delhi, lots of good friends. But I said the difference between a Bangalorean, and by this I don't mean a South Indian, I could be anyone, and a person living in Delhi, is that we tend to wear our gold Rolex under our cuff, right?
Yes,
right?
that would be apt, yes.
All right, that's good. In your 20 years that you've been here, you've actually been here from 2005, in my opinion, well after Bangalore had changed. I don't understand, to me, what changed drastically in the last 20 years with specific reference to the materialism that seems to have crowded us. In what ways do you think it has changed?
So that's a good question. First of all, what makes an old Bangalorean? Is it how long you have to live here? Is 20 years enough for me to be called an old Bangalorean, or do I have to have the generational connect that Ramjee has? So every new Bangalorean has this sort of longing mixed with irritation when all of these old Bangaloreans say, oh, I'm an old Bangalorean. You know, it's like... So as he's talking, I'm like, my bile is rising, and I'm like, damn it, what do I have to do to be one of these? But... you need to love Bangalore. There you go. That's right. So that brings to the question of money. One of the reader feedbacks I got was like, Shoba, have you ever traveled in a Bangalore auto rickshaw? You keep saying Bangaloreans are genteel and civilized. Have you? So to that point, I view the city through the rose-tinted glasses of an outsider. I view the city through a rose-tinted glasses of a newcomer, which to Ramjee I am. And I still think the Rolex under the watch is what people in Bangalore would wear. I would like to think that.
That's fair enough. That's pretty good. I have a specific question. In terms of lifestyle, and you cover a lot of that in your writing when you write for international magazines as well as Indian papers and so on. Specifically about lifestyle. By lifestyle, what shall we do? Let's narrow it down to clubs and pubs, for instance, and I'm just pulling a cliche here for want of something else to do. But take that as a representative of a mindset. Do you see a generational difference in there? Do you see a difference in the absolutely new people who come there? How do they foster a sense of belonging, and how did you find your sense of belonging here?
So, unlike perhaps Ramjee, I'm not a member of any club. Bangalore club has a 32-year waiting list.
Neither am I, by the way.
Okay. So, the club culture of Bangalore is lost to me, but that I have relatives who go there for the companionship and for the ethos and the ambience. So where does a new Bangalorean like me find that? I think our parks, Kaban Park and Lal Bagh, are mini ecosystems open to all. That's where I go. The nature community is really strong in Bangalore. BIC, Bangalore Lit Fest. This is how we find our community. And I think the soul of the Metropolis, which is what the subtitle of my book is in spite of all the generational connects that people like Ramjee have, I can walk up and sit with him in a Koshi's and have lunch, and you would still welcome me. Unlike Chennai, and I can say this because I grew up there, and in Chennai, you would still not be welcomed unless you had the generational connect. So Bangalore is home because I love the city, like somebody said, and it still, I believe, is the most accepting metropolis in India, barring none.
That deserves some applause. It is. So many people who move over here, occasionally I've heard people say, oh, Bangalore's not very accepting, which is a little different from what you said about it. Quite a few people have said, I can't find my feet over here, I can't find my... So when you moved into Bangalore, did you look to find a Bangalore that you wanted to belong to, or did you create a Bangalore that you now belong to?
I think Bangalore helped me find who I was. I was not a bird watcher when I moved to Bangalore. Now I'm an avid bird watcher, and there's a huge community. I was not a wine drinker when I moved to Bangalore. Now I'm part of 2 wine clubs and thinking of starting a gin club. So Bangalore that way provides lots of segues. So there's the textile part. I learnt about in the Indian textiles, which I love, from Bangalore. Even though in Chennai there is Sabita Radhakrishna, who is a friend. The Craft Council ladies, the Vastrabharana exhibit that we put on every year. So every vertical in my life I have found in Bangalore. So the textiles, the nature, the food and drink. Comic-Con I have visited, but there are what it is to be single in Bangalore, I don't know, but there are swathas of Bangalore that are not available to me, but Bangalore, that way, you can weave your way through the traffic and find yourself. So,
how do you sustain your vision of Bangalore? Is it static? Do you see change under you?
Yeah, that's a tough one because, you know, today in the Deccan Herald, I read about there's a group of resident welfare people in Whitefield, which they are walking on the footpaths, making all the problems that they see, putting it on the BBMP portal, and the BBMP portal immediately says fixed, fixed, fixed when nothing is fixed. So they are taking a stand against in the infra. See, if you ask people what are the problems of life in Bangalore, the same stuff comes up: traffic and infrastructure. First of all, traffic. I think Bangaloreans are smart because we know when to commute. So I'm sick and tired of people everywhere saying, oh, the traffic is bad, traffic is bad. It is. I'm not discounting that. But there are ways around it. The metro can only get better. And I think public transport to the airport is already good. The Vayu Vajra buses are really good. So that will be solved. Infrastructure, I think it's up to us. I think if we citizens take a stand, we have an RWA in Alsur where I live. We went and met our cooperator who actually hired his auto driver to be in his place because he had stood enough times and could not. So my point is that infrastructure and traffic are the things to be solved. We have this glorious weather. We have a cultural renaissance that's happening right now. I mean, what do we have to complain about?
Everything and nothing. I guess that's where it is.
Yeah.
The people that you meet a mix of people. You know, as journalists, we necessarily meet all the movers and so on. We meet everyone who counts for their wealth, etc. And they have something specific to say. Very often they sell Bangalore. You have conversations with auto drivers too. And when you have conversations with people, what is the most pithy thing that you've heard somebody say which is real politic and not masked with whatever it is that they think they should say?
Another great question. I think the pithy thing comes in Kannada, and one section of my book I talk about learning Kannada, and I think you know what makes a new Bangalorean into an old Bangalorean? Learning Kannada. Because it opens up I think it opens up the city in a way that is not possible otherwise. And as you say, the Bangaloreans, the fruit seller, the flower vendor in Alsur market, they speak to you in Indian languages are so miraculous, and in how lyrical they are. The metaphors we use, the puns that we have. English is far behind. In order to express yourself, I think Kannada is a gateway to how Karnataka and Bangalore think. So that's what I would say to you is, the pithy thing is, I'm trying to think of a specific Kannada expression beyond Swalpa, just Madi, beyond Guru, beyond all the usual stuff. But one thing that came from a bookseller on Church Street was that, Madam, you've written this Namma Bangalore book. You know what's so great about it is because when we had relatives come to visit us, they'll come one day and then they'll say, Mysore hogona, because that was it. You come to Bangalore, there's nothing to do in Bangalore. Day 2, you go to Mysore. Whereas now we give you a book and you have the chapter on 36 things you can do in Bangalore. So that is helpful to us because we don't have to ferry these relatives to Mysore. So that I thought was a good way, because I didn't realize that Bangalore is a place, as a wayfarer, you just transit before going to Mysore as a tourist. So I think that was a very moving thing for me.
The learning Kannada thing is one of the new things that old Bangaloreans hear. When we grew up speaking it like we spoke everything else.
Yeah.
It was not a thing.
Yeah.
You by default you spoke it.
Yeah.
That's it, to play. Bangalore has always been a migrant city.
Yeah.
And it's always been inviting people to come in. At least this side of town, at least the cantonment areas have been that because of the nature of the way it was developed and built. I've been delving into the history of it for quite a while inside it. This sense of inclusiveness that people talk about, did you ever feel excluded? Have there been any instance when you felt out of place, not here?
I mean, I've been excluded from Bangalore Club, but because they won't give me a membership. But
let's give a round of applause for that, though, I think.
But no, I don't think, yeah.
Before we throw it open for questions, I'm sure there are some. I wanted to ask you, you moved here in 2005. It's 23 now, getting on to 24. What do you want Bangalore to be in the next 10 years?
Oh, that's easy. More public transport. Definitely. So that people like you and me will use, like all these people in Berlin and London, they take the subway as a matter of course. Everybody here should use public transport. Then
there's a saying that new immigrants don't want newer immigrants to come in wherever they are in the world. immediately get in here, buy your flat and say, oh, look at all these people coming in. And this is,
Yeah.
from an old Bangalorean perspective, I can only laugh at something like that, because
Yeah.
where do I start? So, but from your perspective, do you think that in 10 years' time, Bangalore can grow even more in terms of population? Can we hold more?
So I'll answer this question in a different way, Ramjee. It was really bothering me that there is no Bangalorean Karnataka character in Bollywood. So after seeing Rocky and Rani, I said Bengalis are there. Of course, Punjabis hold the fort. Even Tamilians have Chennai Express with Deepika Padukone. Why is there not a single Karnataka character in mainstream Bollywood? I'm not talking. And I was thinking, is it because Bangalore is, as you say, a city of immigrants? We don't have a character to the city. And I think that character to the city is coming now, because so far we had Bangalore's technology, startups, the economy and all that. But in order for a city to have character, you need the soft power of many books being now, not just my book, many books are being written on Bangalore, which is a wonderful thing. Stand-up comedians are from here. So hopefully in the next 5 years, beyond the public transport, we'll have some Pushpavalli who has made it big in Bollywood with like a Rani. There'll be Manjunatha and there will be Pushpavalli from Bangalore.
This conversation captures everything that I wanted to capture as to what you can find in this particular book. And when I started to read it, the next time I looked up was when I finished the book. And it's a very nice read. It's a wonderful thing, and it captures exactly that essence of Bangalore that Shoba was talking about. Before we go to the questions, anything that you needed to ask? For example, is there something that, after writing this book, is there questions in your head that you might still feel are unresolved about the city?
So earlier when Ramjee and I were talking, I said, Ramjee, I would ask you, as an old Bangalorean, what is it that I've left out from the book? And we said we'll talk about it on stage. So that would be my question for you.
That wasn't my segue, because the answer to that question is nothing. I think it captures what you wanted to capture, and that's what's important. You don't have to capture what I wanted you to capture in that book.
Well, you're writing your own book on the history of
Yes.
Karnataka. So
Not Karnataka, just Bangalore.
just Bangalore.
Just history of
lovely.
Bangalore, that's
Okay, so we'll look out for that.
Absolutely.